Hello everybody, welcome to Inside the Theatre. We're talking about INEOS and why they need to keep hold of their young stars. With INEOS now in charge at Manchester United, we have reached a turning point. Will they keep faith in their young academy stars, or will they look to sell them to help their FFP situation? The answer could define the future of Manchester United. Manchester United has a rich history in developing young talents, from the class of '92 to current stars like Alejandro Garnacho and Kobbie Mainoo. But now, with INEOS in charge, there's a big decision to be made. Will they keep these young players? Will they sell them? Will they look to bring in new players? It's a really important decision, and it will reflect and shape the whole club for years to come. Before we jump into the video though guys, please leave a like and comment and subscribe if you can. It's a massive help to the channel and it's massively appreciated. INEOS, led by Sir Jim Ratcliffe, now has a major control over the financial and football operations at the club. They've spoken about long-term success, but what does this really mean? Will they use Manchester City's method of bringing in the best and the experts? That includes the best players. Or will they look to develop and shape the youth like we did before with that class of '92? To answer this question, you have to look back at and reflect on what INEOS have already done before. My cameraman is really interfering with the video, and you're trying to nudge my camera off, aren't you? What do you have to say to yourself? You need to leave. Looking at INEOS's time at Nice is interesting because you can see what their opinion was on youth. And I think this opinion is ingrained into INEOS, and I think maybe it's a positive, maybe it's something to look forward to. At Nice, they emphasised individual progression. If a player was good enough, they were old enough. They scrapped the idea of having age groups, and instead what they implemented was a structure where if a player has the right potential and expresses that every game, they move up the ranks. And this led to them promoting young stars that went on to join at an international level for their country. Why is it so important that Manchester United keep a hold of their young players? Well, again, it goes back to who is Manchester United, our identity. From the Bubsby Babes, the class '92, Manchester United is about developing players. It's about having the best players, creating the best players, and creating a culture within the club that inspires younger generations, and inspires everybody to watch Manchester United. There's more to it. There's more to it than football. There's more to it than just buying a player. Manchester United is about more. It's about creating an environment of family, creating legacy. In the current squad, there's already signs of prospects, academy graduates, not even just academy graduates. You have young talents brought in from other clubs who we need to keep at the club. This is the players you need to build around. I'm talking about Kobbie Mainoo, Garnacho, two players from the academy. Then you have players externally, Amad Diallo, Rasmus Højlund, and look, even recently actually, we go back a little bit, Toby Collier. These are players that we need to build around, we need to shape around. And look, I fully understand and completely understand the idea that we need to match FFP, we need to match financial fair play, we need to ensure that we're available to spend money, because you do need to buy players. It's not all about using your academy players. Otherwise we have a whole team, the under-18s, the under-21s. You do need to buy players, but you also need to keep certain players. Let's start with Kobbie Mainoo. Now, he is the future midfielder of Manchester United. Now, some people see echoes of Michael Carrick in his passing. Some people see something different. Do you know what I see? And this is a strange remark. I actually think he's very similar to Paul Pogba. He's much more physical now. He uses his body. Good with the ball at his feet. He's good at trapping the ball. He's good at moving players off the ball. And his little short passes and his creativity is on another level to a lot of players on Man United's team. And we saw that today. When I'm making this video, Man United have just played in the Europa League against FSBC. I don't know who they were, but we played against them. And Kobbie Mainoo played as a 10. And you can see he is a future prospect for Manchester United, and he can fill that role. And he can play there. Alejandro Garnacho. Now this is an interesting one. He's linked with moves away. But the issue I have with it is, should we even be looking at him in the first place? You know, yes, you may. Let's say we get what we're asking for. You know, we're asking probably, I think it's something in the region of 65. maybe up to about £70 million. With offers coming in about €50 million right now from Napoli. We shouldn't be selling these kinds of players. We should not be selling these kinds of players. When you have in your squad, we currently have, there's a list, there's a whole number of videos worth of players. You've got players like Casemiro, you've got Rashford, Anthony, I would even put on the list of players we need to get rid of. Luke Shaw, Johnny Evans, Ericsson, the list goes on and on. I'll think of players every time I stop and I go back to edit this, but the main thing is there's players to be sold and there's players to keep. I think Garnacho is one to keep. If an offer comes in that's really big, look, you have to consider it as you always do, but you build on these players. He's 20 years old. He's scored a bicycle kick. He has ability. He's dangerous. He's raw, but he's dangerous, but he's 20. He's developing, Players don't hit their prime, especially wingers, until they're 24, 25 and onwards. So he's got plenty of room to grow and help Manchester United going forward. And I think it's just a very, very rash decision to say we need to sell him now. Speaking of rash decisions, decision needs to be made on Rashford, but again, that's a whole other video. What about Rasmus Højlund? Another interesting one. There's articles coming out recently saying that we're looking to sell him, looking to move him on. Again, I'm in the same thing. That's crazy. I'm actually personally a big fan of Højlund, and I think he has all the attributes needed to be a really good striker, especially under Ruben Amorim. I think if you look at Gyökeres, I actually think there's quite a lot of similarities between the two. I really do think Højlund can do that. He's quick, he's strong, he's powerful, and he does strike the ball well. Let's all just talk about how he's not scored enough goals, but if you look at his actual goal scoring ability, it's actually pretty clinical. Especially in Europe, in the Champions League, he was one of the top goal scorers until he got kicked out. In the Europa League this season, he's the top goal scorer, I think, in the competition so far. He scores goals. And I think he has the ability to be a striker for any club, and that includes Manchester United. But I do think he needs, just like any young player, they need someone to look up to. So just because that player isn't doing well right now, doesn't mean you sell them and then bring in another young striker. What's the point? That young striker in Højlund, he needs someone to look up to, and that isn't Xerxes, because Xerxes is in the same position. He needs to develop. We need a striker that helps him develop. This is the one time I would happily have an older striker. If we had Zlatan in his prime, if he had Zlatan when we had him before, that helps him learn. We need to look at keeping him. Next one, and probably the last one I'm going to talk about now, because I don't want to make this a huge long video. I just want to mention all my thoughts on the situation. Amad Diallo. We're not looking to sell him. There's nothing coming out about selling him. That's good. That's how it needs to be. And I think he's a player, again, that's shown that what happens if you stick with him. Maybe he got loaned a few times. So what? He's a talented player who has the potential to be a top level winger. And he's starting to show that now, isn't he? We're seeing him week in, week out put good performances. Even when he plays bad, he pops up with something. Just look at the other day. He wasn't playing very great. 11-minute, 12-minute hat-trick. These are the things we need to build around. And INEOS need to make the right decisions when it comes to these players. It's so important that we keep these young talent, this core group of young, talented players, and you build a group. That doesn't mean you don't sell players. We will sell players, and we'll sell big players. But Manchester United made the right decisions, and INEOS are the ones doing that. And if they want to talk about long-term success, building that long-term success, but also achieving in the short term, I think that we need to sign some experienced players now. When I say experience, I'm not saying get 40-year-olds. I'm saying players who've played at the top level. Maybe they're 24, 25. I don't know. But let's just get some players in now that can help guide this group of players into the right direction. And then if you start looking ahead in the future, there's absolutely no reason these collection of players can't be the class of 25. I'm just saying, maybe that's too far ahead, but I think that's why we need to keep these young talents at Manchester United. On the idea of the young players and why it's so important, I think it's important to look at the dangers if you decide to neglect the young players. Just look at Paul Pogba. He's linked to Man United again recently, but we're not talking about that, right? We had a player in Paul Pogba when he was at the academy with Sir Alex Ferguson, who had talent, he had ability. I'm not saying Sir Alex Ferguson neglected youth, by the way, but I'm just saying in this instance, this is a good example. He left. We left him. We think, look, there's no point. We can get rid of him. We can sell him a little bit of money. off he goes. Obviously, we ended up leaving free, but he then went on to be a great player. So I don't think you can argue he was world class. He was world class. I don't think he only played for us. He was world class. I think that's massively neglected when you think about Paul Pogba. Probably because of what he did towards the end of his career at Manchester United, but he was world class, and we built that world class player. We don't get the credit for it because we bought him back for 89 million pounds or something along those lines, just for him to sell him again later on down the line. But again, you can't neglect youth. If we sell Garnacho now and he goes on to be a flop, then fine, we got away with it. If he goes on and he starts scoring goals at Real Madrid or Barcelona, we all look back on this and go, why did we not keep him? He didn't show any signs of wanting to leave the club. Why did we get rid of him? Same for Mainoo, same for Højlund, Collier, any of those young players. We need to keep them until we at least develop them. I think we need to keep the club. What I think INEOS should do is simple. I've kind of told you already. We need to keep our youth players. We need to invest in those youth players. Just need to give them time to develop. A 20-year-old is going to be in that raw, And if you consider the other factors as well, they're not exactly in the best performing Manchester United team. In fact, Amorim's actually said it's the worst Manchester United team. So I don't think that's the right environment to be judging young players on. I definitely don't think we should be selling them with that in mind. So I think we should be building around them. I think the core group of players, the core group, just like in Class 92, that core group of players need to be kept at the club. Garnacho, Mainoo, I think Rasmus and Toby Collier, Ahmad all need to be built around us. 5 players. There's still plenty of players in that team. 5-6 players you can tailor around experience, bringing in top players, big names. But those 5 players, those core players, and there'll be more players will come through. We've got young players coming in. We've got a new left back, Dorgu. We got the other left back we actually signed as well, bear in mind. So Diego Leon, something along those lines. We have core young players and we need to build around these because we are Manchester United and that's what we do. Do you think we should be selling on a few players, Garnacho, maybe Mainoo, to rivals or to other clubs abroad in aid of our financial fair play situation? Or do you think we should be tailoring us around those players, maybe selling a few of the older players? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. And again, please, if you can smash the like button and subscribe, it'd be absolutely amazing for the channel. Hopefully we can get to a point where we can start some live interactions with people. But yeah, drop me a comment down below and let me know.